Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today to share with you a scrap room layout that I created using my April Echo Park Imagine That collection. That is the layout that I created. I did add in a few extra things to this. So this collection to me is very sort of more younger boy, and given that I have a 15-year-old, he is not quite into vroom vroom and boom and those sorts of things, but it still sort of applies because his brain still functions that way. And so I wanted to use this collection to document a boy moment and make this collection work for me. I have found that there are a lot of young boy collections, and I have this 15-year-old who I'm really struggling to document his moments lately because collections to me are either very girly or very young boy. So I'm making a concerted effort to make these things work for him. So I took that pattern paper that has boom, imagine, super, and all those fun things, and I trimmed that down for the bottom. And then I am going to use one of my new mixed media goodies, and this is a Nouveau embellishment mousse, and the color is aquamarine, I believe. I got this at the scrapbook store in Tennessee that I went to, that I highly recommend if you're ever in Tennessee or visiting in Knoxville. It's definitely a great place to go. So I'm using this embellishment mousse and just adding some stars for a little bit more embellishment and texture to the page. There's a lot of busyness in the pattern papers, but I don't have embellishments that aren't rocket ships and skulls and those kinds of things that don't really apply to this layout. So by putting texture mousse through a template, I was able to, or a stencil, I was able to add a little bit more embellishment to the page. So this is a cut apart sheet. They're all the 4x6s, and what I wanted was the selvage strip that you see there, because I wanted something for the bottom to go with the words, and the strip that I had cut from green wasn't enough of a pop behind it, whereas this contrast between the diagonal stripes there and the words popped out much more. So I just used that little bit of the selvage strip there rather than cutting into a whole fresh piece of paper. These pictures are of my son at the Biltmore in Asheville, North Carolina. We were there on spring break, and he saw this top hat in one of the gift shops and decided that he needed to have a top hat. So I got pictures of him wearing the top hat, because when he looked at the price tag of the top hat, he decided that he no longer needed the top hat. But he does look quite dapper in the top hat. So I wanted to back these papers a little bit. Again, just put some fun layers behind the photos, pop them up a little bit, add a little bit of color to the layout. And in the scrap room kits, what is super nice about the scrap room kits is that you just get a flavor of the embellishments. So I have actually a very generous number of tags and things to go with this collection. So, and again, a lot of the things on the tag are sort of more young boy, so I just used bits and pieces of the tags in order to have embellishment to the page, but not necessarily emphasize the younger elements of that. I'm using one of these cut aparts as a frame for one of the photos, so I'm just going to trim it down so that it fits and find a way that it's going to be a pop of color popping out of the pictures, but not using the journaling space there. And I knew I wanted those triangles as the background. They are very busy, so I had to find a way of being able to use the triangle pattern paper, but not detract from everything else that was going on. And because of the busyness of both the words at the bottom and that triangle paper, I converted the pictures to black and white because the pictures were indoor and the light wasn't great. So the best way to showcase the activity and tell the story was by converting the picture. So I'm going to layer those up and then put those on a rectangle of triangle paper there. I had originally not anticipated having such a large photo, what word do I want to use? A large photo place. And so where I had put the embellishments, I was anticipating the embellishment, talk much, Susanna? The embellishment mousse was a little bit further you can see how it pushes it all the way to the right hand side of the page in order to see the embellishment mousse. So I do have to trim it down just a smidge in order to really make the embellishment, the stenciled texture paste work where it is. And then that shifts sort of the angle. This was originally going to be centered in the page, but I actually like it off to the side. It works nicely. I'm going to add this little strip of blue to the bottom underneath the photos there, because the heaviness of the black where my son is wearing the top hat, that navy blue just balances that out nicely, and that's why I put that where that is. The embellishment mousse dries really quickly, which is really nice, so you don't have to worry about turning your photo over like I just did and dipping it into some wet mousse or texture paste. So I have this little frame. It's a little pop of orange that I want to put in, and so I'm just going to trim that down so I can use the rest of it somewhere else or on another layout. And then the tag also is a pop of color. I actually really liked it up the top poking out of the picture, but it didn't go with the orange tag that also worked really nicely to have an embellishment cluster up there. This kit also comes with this really nice twine. I like this twine because it's really thick and it stays wrapped, unlike the twinery twine, which I have a plethora of. I thought maybe I might use some of it tied around the picture too, which I thought was kind of neat, but it didn't need two sets of twine with both the tag and the picture tied around the twine as well, so I just thought, oh, I'll save that for something else. And the reason I end up going with the tag where it is, it could have worked in any of those places. I actually really like it down the bottom as well, but it needed to go into the photo cluster there, so that you can see where I'm going to have clusters where the texture paste is, to have that trio of things that I like to have on my layouts. I was hoping to be able to incorporate a few more of the embellishments into the layout, but again, that triangle paper is so busy that it was hard to see things. Just a thin strip of red down in that bottom cluster there, and again, just to kind of ground it and unite things is what I'm going to finish off with there. And then this kit also came with the enamel dots that you see there, and I liked again the way that it pulled the color out and kind of gave that splash of color to the side there, and didn't make everything look like it was just slap bang on the right hand side of the page there. So you can see where I'm trying to incorporate just a few more elements into the layout, and then I realized that really it's just too busy, and I am going to find some letters that do not come with the kit. These kits are a little bit on the smaller side as far, they don't generally come with letters, so you usually end up incorporating some of your own. I did want to use more of the pattern paper, and so I pulled the stars. That is what I used for the stencil, was little stars. So I die cut a couple of stars out. I have that big green star that's going to stay where it is there. I have the red star, and I'm actually going to end up outlining those stars in black, and again, just to make them pop a little more. And I am going to add two other stars that are not on this page. So these letter stickers are from Fancy Pants, and they are perfect for this, and I love how that asterisk works kind of like a star as well, and I'm going to end up putting that up by the photo as well. And then I'm going to use my date stamp and a little bit of mist. I'm going to take some orange mist and splatter that, and then use my date stamp in the maroon color to put the date on the layout. I have not journaled on it. I will probably do that on the back because I don't like the open space filled in this particular layout. So sometimes I will just tell the story on the back of a page. So that, my friends, is my scrap room layout for today using Echo Park Imagine That. So I am growing up a younger boy collection. Thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the box down below, and I will do my best to get back to you. Enjoy the close-ups. I hope you're doing well. Take care.